Hey, this is Steve with Real-Time Music Solutions, and today we're going to discuss using hotkeys and comments in Sinfonia. Hotkeys can be an incredibly powerful tool to give you even more control over your show. With hotkeys, you can trigger unique relocations, mutings, external sequences, and more. First, I'm going to open the function legend, the keyboard window, and the hotkeys window. Next, I'm going to make sure that the view filter in the timeline reads hotkeys. Hotkeys are represented as green blocks in the timeline. The hotkey symbol can be seen here in the keyboard window. It's a flame symbol with an associated number, as well as here in the function legend. It looks like hotkey 1 is associated with function key 2 plus shift. Let's relocate to a measure before the hotkey event and hit the go button. Okay, so now that we're in this section, which also happens to be a vamp, a comment has popped up. Trigger hotkey number 1, greenfinch birds. Comments are separate events you can create to remind yourself of something mid-song. We'll go over creating comments later on in this video. For now, let's hit hotkey number 1, as the comment says, to trigger the greenfinch birds. As we strike the key, we hear the greenfinch birds sequence. Now let's create our own hotkey. First, I'll enter edit mode. Now we have to decide where we want our hotkey to exist. If we want it to exist for the entire duration of the song, we can leave the playhead at the very beginning of the song and then hit the plus button. If we want it to be a finite amount of time that the hotkey is active, we can click into the timeline, drag, and then hit the plus button. As you can see here, it asks for a number of different values. I can select a number of the hotkey. Very helpful if you have multiple hotkeys in a single song. I can type in a specific label for the hotkey, an optional wait value if I'm placing the hotkey in a vamp or repeat, and I don't want the hotkey function until a certain vamp or repeat iteration. I can define the type of hotkey, more on that in a minute, a target value, and an optional times value, in case I only want the hotkey to be functional a certain amount of times in the iteration of a vamp or repeat. Let's take a closer look at the type box. Location. This creates a hotkey that, when struck, will immediately relocate to the target measure within the current song. Let's demonstrate. Location, 57. Go ahead and make a good label. Skip to 57. And click Save. Now when I enter this area, I can hit hotkey 1 to skip to 57. An instrument hotkey will toggle the mute state for a particular instrument. If the instrument is currently muted, it will unmute it, and vice versa. Let's take a look. I'll select the flute. Let's not forget a proper label. And save. We've entered the section. I'll hit the hotkey. And as you can see here in the instrument mixer, the flute is muted and unmuted. A sequence hotkey will trigger an external MIDI sequence, a snippet of music, sometimes in a different type signature, or a sound cue. But customers don't typically create these. They're pre-programmed by Real-Time Music Solutions as per the score. We saw one earlier with the greenfinch birds. Next up is the audio event. This is fairly new. Users now have the ability to drop in their own short audio files and trigger them with hotkeys. At this point, waveform only. In the future, we may think about MP3 as well. I select here, import wave file, and I happen to have one ready on my desktop. This is simply a group of voices singing ah on a G. I also need to select what instrument I want this to play over. We need this sound to be routed somewhere, so you would look at the score and see what instrument is not active at the moment. If there's an instrument that's resting, that would be a perfect spot to place this extra sound effect. I will go ahead and place it just on the flute. One other thing, you can adjust the volume of that audio event that you're throwing in, because maybe it's going to be way too loud over the orchestra. So you can listen to it and go back and forth and save. Not incredibly musical, but you get the point. The final option, undefine, clears the previously defined hotkey. This is probably the least commonly created hotkey, and really only necessary if you want to use the same hotkey to perform multiple functions one after another in succession. Now that we've learned how to create the different types of hotkeys, let's look at comments. The comment window allows you to create plain language instructions that will automatically pop up during playback. You could create a comment to remind you about a hotkey like we saw earlier. You could create a comment to remind you to cue a live player, or maybe just a reminder for an upcoming vamp or tricky tempo section. Let's go ahead and create a comment. I'm going to go to edit mode, open up the comments window. Just like I did with the hotkey, I want to specify a specific area for the comment, not the entire song. I'm going to click and drag over the section, and I can see that it starts at measure 11, ends at measure 13. Go ahead and click the plus in the comments window, and I'm going to type in rubato section incoming. Okay, go back to performance mode, put the playhead before, let's hit the go button. And there's our comment. It pops up automatically and then disappears. And as we do when creating or editing anything in Sinfonia, when we're satisfied, we click File, Save. Thanks for watching.